was thinking today, and I wanted to start taking you through 1 Peter chapter 5. Because there's some principles in 1 Peter chapter 5 that really articulate how we can manage life and we can live our lives well. And I think these principles are sort of benign and they'd be easy to overlook, but I want us to look at. The first one I want to look at is in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 5. A modern translation says this: stay close to those who have more experience than you. Find a place next to them and stay close. And then wrap yourself in humility. Sort of an interesting paradox there, because it says find people who have more experience than you. Find them and stay close to them. Find a place and put yourself next to them. And then wrap yourself in humility. Do you know you can be next to wisdom and never hear it? Because without humility, wisdom's never heard. You can be right next to it. That's why he tied those two together. Wisdom is only heard through a heartbeat of humility. So it's one thing to say, I've got to listen to you, and another thing, I'm willing to hear you. One is because of an attitude, the other one is because of an opportunity. Now, the reason we don't like this verse and the reason I read it in a modern translation is because what it says literally in the King James and in the Greek, it says, submit yourself. And that's a word we don't like. I don't want to submit to you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. In fact, we have a phrase for that in our society. It's called, you're not the boss of me. Well, you're not the boss of me. Nobody needs you the boss of me. But that word submit to us comes across as a total negative. It's something that when we hear it, we mentally reject it. Now, biblically, we entertain it. But mentally, we reject it. Because it's in the Bible, we sort of, okay, it's a Bible word, don't like it, don't want it, but our minds are saying, it's just not going to work, it's not going to be there, it's not going to work for me. But you have to understand, when Peter uttered these words, when he said that, he was basically saying something that was different, because that word wasn't a negative. That word wasn't one of those words that was just a put down. Well, you're not as smart as me, just listen to me. Well, you can't do what I do, just watch me. Well, you're no good at this and I'm good at this, follow me. It wasn't that kind of word. In fact, it was a word of personal impact. It's a word that led to 3 outcomes. And the 3 outcomes were production. You were able to do more. Protection. You were safer. And purpose. It created a reason. Now, if I were to say to you, hey, there's something I want you to do, and it's going to do 3 things for you. It's going to add production to your life. You're going to do more than you've ever done. And it's not only going to add production, but it's going to protect you. It's going to keep you from getting in trouble. And then it's going to help you discover your purpose and your reason. If I were to say those things to people, no one would have any problem. They'd say, well, what is that? And then if I were to back into the word submit, they might say, well, I'm just not going there. Because submit has that connotation. But you understand that what verse 5 of 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 5 is saying is, if you're going to live life well, you have to find your place in life. Because the etymology of the word submit was derived from the military. That's where it came from. It was something that they saw every day when the Romans would march their legions, when soldiers would march through the city. It was a military word. It wasn't a word that was a social word. It was a military word, and it was a military word that basically referred to this. It referred to the arrangement of troops, everybody knowing their place. And when they said, you need to submit, and it was the arrangement of troops, it was because as a military unit, it made you more productive. It created protection for everyone that was involved, and it helped you achieve your purpose. So they weren't resistant to that word submit, but we're resistant to it because we don't see it that way. But the Bible's just saying, stay close to people who have more experience than you. People who've been down the road. They've seen around the corner. They know what's out there. And not only stay next to them, but find a place next to them and stay. There's a couple of people in life that I know are really down the road from me. And they really know more than me. And so when I'm around them, I'm right next to them. And the reason I'm right next to them is I found out their conversations have wisdom in them that come out by accident. And not just because they're speaking to a crowd, but when they're just talking as an individual. And so I place myself right next to them. They move, I move. They go, I go. Now, in my life when I was young, there were a lot of people who were further down the road than me. Now, at my age in life, there aren't as many. But the ones that I have access to, I'm right next to them. I put myself, if there's an opportunity to be next to them, I'm going to be next to them. And I do not take being next to them for granted. I don't do that. Because I want to be more productive. I want the protection. I don't want to get myself in trouble because I had to be smarter than everybody else. And I want to discover and create purpose. In our world, we have a phrase now. They're called spaces. Everybody needs spaces. We need safe spaces. And the thing about that word is that it's all right to have safe spaces, but it's not all right to have spaces that aren't challenging you better. And some people only feel safe if someone isn't challenging them. But everyone that I've ever followed close to, when they got to know me, they weren't hesitant to challenge me. They'd look me in the eye. They'd say things in an uncomfortable way. They would say things that I did not enjoy hearing. They would say things in a way that I thought, well, hey, that's not how you talk when you're in the pulpit. But see, most people have to have everything delivered to them with flowers and chocolate. And so they want it delivered in a certain way, and that's fine, but sometimes when you're around wisdom, you just need wisdom. And so I've been around people that sometimes they'd look at me and they'd say, Gerald, you just don't do that. And I'd go, okay. And it helped me to survive 48 years in ministry. I mean, can we just be honest? You don't do what I do, but there aren't many people that are still around after doing this for 48 years. But the reason is because they help me. Now, you've got to find your place. the verse that Philip read about them speaking boldly. There was a verse in there after Peter and John had been persecuted. So they had had a bad day. They had been beat. So they had had a challenging day. They had been talked to in unpleasant ways. And it says in Acts chapter 4 and verse 23, it says that they returned to their company. See, there was a place that they knew they belonged. My spiritual father, he was one of those mentors that would literally thump me in the middle of my chest, metaphorically, when I was doing something wrong. And he would tell me things that I never heard him say from the pulpit. And everyone would say, oh, you know, how much fun is that to be so close to him? And I said, get thumped by him and see how much fun that is. But some people can't take the thump, so they never grow up, they never learn. But he'd thump me and he'd say, Gerald. And he would give my name. It has sort of become terse, Gerald. But my spiritual father was used a lot in the area of miracles, especially healing miracles. And so he created opportunities for people to get prayed for. But one day, because these opportunities would come frequently, and he had this team of people around him that would literally, after he prayed for people, they'd go up and they'd talk to them and they'd have conversations. And he was walking into one of these rooms, and God stopped him. He said, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm walking in the room. He said, no, what are you doing? Listen to your people. And this person over here is talking to them about their marriage being bad. This person over here is talking to them about this trauma. The person's over here talking to him about that. He says, you need to stop that. He says, well, they're just talking to him. They're just counseling with him. He said, I didn't call you to do counseling. I called you to do healing. And he said, first of all, he said, all those needs need to happen in their sheepfold. That's called the church. And he said the reason many of them have a problem is they don't have a sheepfold. They don't have a place. They don't have a company. So he stopped it. More miracles started happening, and he would look at people. He said, don't talk to us about this. That's not what we're doing. We're called to do this. And if you're not in a church, that could be one of the reasons that you're having problems. Everybody wants to be a free agent in the name of Jesus. They want to be a free agent in the name of Jesus. They want to go where they want to go when they want to go. They want to do things. But the thing about it is, if you don't know how to submit, find your place, and stick in your place, you're going to find yourself in trouble. Because church wasn't my spiritual father's idea, and it wasn't my idea. Jesus was the one who came up with church. He said, I will build my church. It wasn't man-made. Church is the only God-made organization on this planet. There is no organization that is God-made on this planet other than church. And someone says, well, I've been to churches and they have problems and I don't like all the people there and things like that. Here's what I tell people. If church weren't important, why would the devil give you all the reasons not to go? He doesn't give you 100 reasons not to go to Starbucks. He doesn't give you 1,000 reasons not to go to Dunkin' Donuts. But you get up and you start thinking you're going to church, I'll guarantee you, within 5 minutes, you'll have 20 to 30 reasons why not to go. Well, I don't feel good today. It's not a good time. It's not here. It's not there. And you'll have all of these things that will get in your way. And you know what that means? The devil values church more than Christians do. because he's afraid of you going. And so Peter said, could you just find a place? Put yourself in that place. Stay in that place. Because if you'll stay in that place, you'll be more productive. I'll be able to protect you. And you will discover your purpose. If you'll do that. If you'll do that.